views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Hi, welcome to Higher TV. I'm your host, Amy Bay, and today we will be discussing the benefits of practicing yoga with our guest who's a certified yoga instructor and teaches yoga sessions at Anytime Fitness and Crunch. Please welcome Saori Kishi. Thank you for joining us, Saori.
Thank you so much for having me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, wonderful. Thank you.
Yes. All right, so let's jump right in. So, tell me a little bit about how you got started as a yoga instructor.
Okay, so I've actually been practicing yoga since 2008 and absolutely fell in love with it. Had an instant connection from the first class that I took. And I just kind of felt it in my own heart that this was a path that I really wanted to take and share with other people. But it actually took me a while to, just dip my toes into teaching since I was always nervous getting in front of people and talking to people. But after a while, I just felt that I needed to just take the plunge and get over some of the fears that were holding me back from teaching. And I'm so happy that I was able to transform those fears. And now I'm just sharing my love and passion with people. So I really consider myself very fortunate and very lucky to hold this kind of position.
That's great. And I'm glad that you're getting over
Mm.
your fear and you seem very confident and stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
seems confident, right?
Yeah. Well, very
Yeah.
confident, yes. Yeah, everyone has, their moments when they get nervous starting something new, but, eventually we evolve and we get over it and stuff and we get better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think part of life is being able to overcome your fears or the limitations that we put on ourselves. So I think having a yoga practice definitely helped me overcome those fears and be able to work with them or become friends with the limitations that we have, right? So then we
Yeah.
could move forward.
Yeah. That's good. And what made you so passionate about teaching yoga?
I think just being able to see the transformation happen within myself. I think I was dealing with a lot in life, as we all do. And every time that I went to class and stepped on the mat, I was really able to feel that change, not only physically, but also psychologically, feel that benefit of a yoga practice.
That's good. Yeah.
Mm.
How important is flexibility for practicing yoga?
So I would say that, one of the important things that you do begin to cultivate in your practice is being able to have flexibility in the mind, to be able to create that space within your headspace actually begins to translate into your physical flexibility. So in yoga, we focus on bringing unity between the mind, the body, and the breath. And within that unity, you're able to create something outstanding. And that's, I
That,
think, where the magic is.
mhm. That's really awesome. It's amazing. And do you think yoga sessions make people more relaxed and peaceful?
I would say so. So there's actual research that's being done in the scientific world that's bridging the gap between Western science and Eastern philosophy. And one of the major discoveries that they were able to conclude is that meditation and yoga has the ability to change one's brain plasticity. So, meaning that you're able to actually change or reconstruct the way your brain functions, which is really amazing. And this is why people over time start to feel a lot lighter. They feel a lot, how would I say it? They're able to handle stress in a better way because of the fact that they're rewiring the way that they see the world, the way they interact with the world. So I think what's important is taking your yoga practice on the mat and then translating it off the mat. And I think that becomes a natural transition as you get deeper into your yoga practice.
That's great. Yeah, that's really awesome. And what are the benefits of practicing yoga for mental health?
So again, going back to the fact that changing your brain plasticity and um, what that really does is it triggers your parasympathetic relaxation response. So in our daily life, if you're feeling really stressed, we're kind of in that flight or fight mode. But what yoga does, it really relaxes you. It calms your nervous system, and you're starting to able to create space between yourself and your thoughts. So when you create that space, you're able to really respond to the world rather than reacting to the world. So yoga has a tremendous positive influence on one's mental health over time.
That's really great. Yeah, what you said was amazing and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people nowadays they go through mental health issues like depression and anxiety. So it's always important to, take time out of your day to just meditate and be more relaxed and stuff.
I agree with you. It's
Yeah.
about taking that step back and not feeding into whatever stress that you have in your life. So, the more involvement that you give to that stress, the more you're actually highlighting it, right? So, it's really important to be able to learn how to decompress and to take that time out to really just create that very meditative headspace, and then from there to be able to use that as a starting point to begin to respond to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very
Mm.
true. And do virtual yoga sessions have the same social and energetic benefits as in-person sessions?
Ah, oh my God. I don't even know how to answer that, honestly. I mean, it's different, right? That's not to say that one is better than the other. It's I would say that um, in my opinion, you'll get more of a social benefit from being together, right? In a group, in an actual room together and feeding off each other's energies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Mm. And lastly, before we wrap things up, what advice do you have for someone that is new to yoga and wants to learn more?
You know what? Just get started. Whether that's looking at some YouTube videos or mustering the courage to just get yourself into a class. Just, as Nike put it, just do it, very straightforward.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's great is yoga is very ubiquitous. I feel like in our modern times, I mean, there's yoga everywhere from gyms to studios. I also hear of even schools offering yoga to their students from pre-K all the way up to college. So it's very accessible, I feel, and
Mhm.
yeah, I hope you give it a chance.
Yeah, I will definitely give it a chance as well and look at yoga sessions at colleges and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Sayori, for joining the episode. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Once again, I'm your host, Amy Bay. See you next time on Higher TV.
Hello, and welcome to Higher TV. I'm your host, Christopher Sanchez. The television industry can be a complex and daunting field to get into, especially if you're someone who's just starting out. So, how do you exactly break in? And if you do, what additional steps must be taken to stay in? Here with me to answer that question is a very special guest who has done various promotional work for AMC, including The Walking Dead. You've probably already seen his work, but you may not know it just yet. It is my pleasure to introduce my mentor, senior writer producer for AMC Networks, Raynard Gadson. Welcome to the show, Raynard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
Doing fine. All right.
Thanks for having
So,
me.
yeah, no problem. So you're a senior writer producer. That's a pretty loaded title. What exactly is a senior writer producer, and what does your job description entail?
So, a senior writer producer in my department is we produce and edit a bunch of the promotional campaign materials that and creative assets that go along with a big show like The Walking Dead or Better Call Saul, or in the past it's been Into the Badlands and Preacher. Coming up, we've got 61st Street. So, what that all encompasses is we see through the campaign, promoting the campaign from start to finish, roll out assets in terms of like social content and all of the trailers that you see for these shows that are coming up, all of the little 30-second promos that you see that shoot off from the trailers. So we pretty much produce and edit those. And in terms of producing, it's basically writing a script for the video that we'll see, as opposed to interviewing some of the talent that's on the show. Just recently, we were in Chicago for a marketing shoot for 61st Street, which is produced by Peter Moffat and Michael B. Jordan. It's got Courtney B. Vance in it. That's coming out next year. So, little plug there. But what we were doing there is just really determining what kind of assets we'll need to promote the show that's going to kind of help support the trailer that we released a couple of months ago. And so, yeah, we've got like a lot of footage that we go through. We sit down and we draft a script based on the footage that we've got, looking through all of the sound bites, putting together all the graphics, requesting the music, all of these little elements that come into creating a really provocative and enticing promotional spot to get audiences engaged with not just the show, but with the fan base and with the network. So it's the whole brand of AMC is what we're kind of in charge of promoting.
Wow, it's a pretty hefty load right there.
Yeah, it's a
So,
lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
so exactly how did you manage to break into the television industry?
So when I was in college, I actually was a mass communications major, and I had several internships. I had one at our local news station down in South Carolina. And when I was about to graduate from college, I got an externship at A&E in New York. So that was my first big break into the television industry. It was as an international research intern. So my main goal was just to get out of South Carolina and get into a network in New York so that I can kind of go from there. And that's pretty much what ended up happening. It was like a 3-month internship. It was minimally paid, but I was able to work a lot of connections there. And from there, I was able to be recommended or referred to many different gigs after that. So it's been just kind of like a freelance type of gig up until where I am now. This has been one of like 2 staff jobs that I've had in my career so far. But yeah, so it's just been basically back to back freelancing, one job to the next, making connections, and just kind of staying in the know or in the game.
So you mentioned connections. That's really important to touch upon. So what advice would you give to those who are trying to break in? So in other words, how should those who are unaware about the industry navigate their way into the profession?
So today, I think, or in this day and age, I think it's much easier with social media. You might be able to tell me that more than I could tell you. I didn't have like the resources of Facebook and Instagram to kind of connect with a network of people that are doing the job that I do. But Facebook has really kind of opened the pool of that within the past 10 years. So there are a lot of Facebook groups that are devoted for editors and for producers and for freelancers and anybody that's really trying to even PA. So I would say try to get into those Facebook groups. A lot of them are private or invite only. So that makes it a little more exclusive so that you don't have like people that really aren't serious about being in the industry coming in and just chalking the feed up with nonsense. So you're able to just really make connections with people that are more localized to where you are or to where you want to be. And you're able to really reach out to them one-on-one, to people that you can look them up and see what they're doing. You can Google them and see what they're doing or what they've done, the types of jobs they're asking for. You're able to really make more of a one-on-one connection with them there. Also, there's LinkedIn, which I think is a very fundamental tool in networking in terms of television, because you can reach out to a bunch of different people at different levels of seniority at different networks or different companies, not even just television. So those are two of the main, or I guess social media would be one of the main proponents of trying to break into the industry. It's really, they say it's more about who you know than what you know, but it's really about what you know and what you can find out, what you can learn from people that you know. So yeah, that's my biggest bit of advice for people trying to break into the industry. And also to just get out there and do it. Like, don't be afraid to get out there. And if you want to write what you want to write and get it into the hands of some people, even if it's something that is like a short that you could just kind of throw together. If you want to shoot, get out there, invest in some camera equipment, or rent some camera equipment, or get on to like a local commercial shoot and ask if you can like be an apprentice or intern for a local production, and just pick up as much skills as you can and again, network with people.
Got it. So let's talk about your previous roles in production. So you were a production assistant on the Dr. Oz show as well as an associate producer. So what did you do in these positions, and how did these roles help you acquire the skills needed to advance your career?
So when I started out at Dr. Oz, I was brought on as a production management PA, and that was basically a bunch of logistic work where, whenever guests are coming to the show we had like we take 2 shows a day, 3 days a week. So it was a rotation of booking travel and vetting the guests that were coming on the show, and sometimes helping to pitch ideas for segments. And so I think what ended up happening is I was showing such good work as a writer in my pitches that I was able to be promoted to an associate producer. And as an associate producer, that got me out of the logistics, out of the managerial track. And I was able to actually book the guests myself instead of just taking care of them logistically, and pitch more and write segments and brief guests and brief Dr. Oz himself. So I was a little bit more hands-on with the creative in that role. And I think how that's helped me in terms of the skills that I have now, I'm definitely, like I was saying before about 61st Street, going into these marketing shoots and having to interview cast members and talent. A lot of those skills came from what I learned or what I picked up at Dr. Oz and booking guests. You needing to know what makes a great guest, what makes a great story, how to really weed out what the essence of a story is, what the essence of a segment is, because you have so little time to really put a segment together. You literally have like 5 to 6 minutes. Whereas in marketing or in promotional production, you have like less than that. You have maybe a minute or at most. Although on social, you have as much as like 3-4 minutes to really grab somebody's attention. So my gig at Dr. Oz helped me to write more concise. So I was able to transfer those skills as a writer at Dr. Oz into writing for promos at AMC, because when you're writing promotional materials or promotional assets, you have less than a minute to really hook and engage and promote a piece of material.
Got it, got it. So how does one maintain a job in this field when they break in?
Maintaining a job in this field really goes back to your networks. You have to really cultivate these relationships that you make on these different shows. I think television is one of those gigs where one of those industries where you really are going from one job to the next at a rapid pace, probably more than any other industry in this country. For a lot of people that are freelancers, if you're lucky enough to be in at a network, you might have a little bit more stability in terms of like being able to climb up quicker, I guess, or to really just kind of breathe in what you're doing and really develop or know where you want to go. Although I think that might be a little bit more corporate than what a lot of creatives really want, unless you're working on a show as a staff writer. And again, even in those instances, as a staff writer on a show, there's a high turnover rate because every season it might be different. They might hire new writers, they might hire new crew. So I think to stay really active in this industry, you have to be a people person, you have to be adaptable, you have to be able to really pick up skills on the fly, you have to be always on top of your game. And I'm not saying that that's not important for every industry, but for this one in particular, because it's so fast paced and because there's so many people vying for a gig on a TV show or behind the scenes in promotions or production, you should really be really good at maintaining friendships and networks and connections with people that go on to do other shows. Because like I said, in my 15 years in this industry, I think I've had maybe about as many 10 to 15 gigs total. And each one of those, or most of those, I should say, I got because I was referred by someone who I'd worked with previously. So that's very, very important.
And the final question, big one of all. So how important is pitching and what are some things people should know about that process?
So I absolutely love pitching. I have a background in writing. I've always wanted to be a writer. So I think pitching, you have to be a writer first. I think it helps to be a writer first. I don't think you have to necessarily be a writer. It definitely helps to be a writer first because you know what it takes to really hook an audience. You know what it takes to sell an idea, to sell a story. And so pitching is basically, you know, you're telling your bosses or your supervisors, this is why I think this story is important. And you know, you've only got like a log line or like 2 sentences tops to really tell them, this is why I think we need to do this. So I think pitching is huge. Learning how to pitch is not something that's difficult to do. I think there's a lot of resources online that I think you can go to look up, you know, how to pitch in terms of what you're pitching for. If you're pitching an idea for a television show, you know, that's going to be different than pitching an idea for a segment. I have a lot more experience with segments and with campaign assets than I have with a television show. Otherwise, I'd have my own TV show by now. But I think it's all like really, it's got the same DNA in that you really want to be able to hook the audience. You want to be as concise as possible. You want to be as to the point as possible. And you want to be as different as possible. Or I shouldn't say different, but fresh, because a lot of people would say, well, there's a lot of the same thing that's on television right now, but there's a lot of material. There's a lot of content. And a lot of times you'll hear studios or networks say, well, we want it to look like this. We want it to be like this that's already been proven successful. There's a way that you can pitch something that is similar to something that's already done, but they want it to be different as well. So you'll often hear, we want it to be just like this, but make it different. And it sounds like it's kind of an oxymoron, but once you've heard that enough, and then you've kind of tailored what you're pitching or how you're writing to fit what they're asking you for, then it'll become like second nature. You'll become inherent to those types of nuances and how to pitch something that sells it as something that's already been proven successful, but you're bringing your own flavor to it. And that's the thing that you've probably got to practice for yourself as a writer.
Oh, there's a lot of information. Thank you, Raynard. So that's all the time we have for today. Once again, my deepest gratitude for your appearance on the show, Raynard. Thank you for your sharing your in-depth knowledge on the television industry. I'm sure our viewers watching now have the information and confidence needed to break in and they have a career in television.
Thank you, Chris. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Yes, we're here. With that being said, I'm your host, Christopher Sanchez of Higher TV, signing off.